Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Loren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks to talk about the stories and issues we think business owners should be following this week. Welcome, Gene.
Loren, welcome to the Pre-Recession.
Wait, I was going to get to that. Well, there's a great debate about that. Is it pre or are we there?
Yeah, listen, it's funny. I just heard that. So I read that term in Bloomberg today. It's a pre-recession, Loren.
Not according to everybody, Gene.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been studying economics all my life, since college, and I was always taught that 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP is a recession, but apparently it's not anymore. So things change.
That's the civilian version, I think. I think that's the informal thing. But there's some, I forget what it is, but there's some body that gets to declare the official thing.
The National Bureau of Economic Research. What they do is, and it takes a few months because they go back and they look at a bunch of different metrics and factors and then determine officially if it was a recession or not. But, that won't happen until later this year.
Yeah, right. Which is why sometimes you find out it was a recession 6 months after it's over, which is really valuable. Let's dive in. Gene, you recently wrote a column suggesting that some business owners may be fooling themselves into thinking their businesses are growing when they're really not. What were you talking about?
Yes, Loren. So, you would ask me what I was working on, that was coming up, and that was definitely a piece that is that I knew was coming. Listen, when I found this out because I was at a client recently and talking about going over their financials, year to year, at least half year, through June 30th, and they're like, "Hey, sales are up through June 30th compared to June 30th of 2021." And sure enough, their dollars were up. But then, we started talking and it's like, dude, you raised prices 10 to 15% during this year. So of course your sales is going to be up, it's the same numbers. If you're shipping the same, you're going to be showing more dollars. And, so we dug into it further and it turned out that when you looked at what they were actually shipping out, they were flat. They were shipping out the same amount of products that they were, the first 6 months of this year compared to last year. So even though they thought that their sales were up, their sales really weren't up. I mean, it was just that they had raised their price, and they only raised their prices to keep up with costs, so their margins are the same. Do you know what I mean?
You're not saying that was a mistake, right? I mean,
No, it was certainly not a mistake. It's just misleading. And I'm just giving this warning to people everywhere when they start looking at publicly held companies and their financials, and when companies are announcing their revenues for the year at the end of the year. Let's not forget, because this is the first time in 40 years that we're in an inflationary period, and we have to take pause as to what revenue increases really mean, Loren, because it's not, if it's just a price increase, that really might not be indicative that the company is doing any better. It's just they've raised prices,
What's the practical impact of that? Are you concerned that one of your clients or a business might think they're doing better than they really are and behave,
that is exactly it.
Hire somebody or behave in such a way, assuming that the business is growing when it's not?
That is exactly it. I mean, it is, you're misleading yourself. First of all, you could be misleading investors and bankers if you're reporting that, we're having a much better year than last year, when any smart investor or banker or accountant that starts digging into it, asking the right questions, might call you out on that. You look kind of dopey, and that hurts your credibility. Plus, it's misleading yourself into thinking that way. So in an inflationary period, you need to be measuring your volume, based on quantities. And depending on, if you're able to track that in your accounting system, and you're able to track the units of things that you're selling, the sheets, the packages, the boxes, whatever it is, the tons, ounces, the gallons, those are the numbers that are really relevant in 2022. If you really want to see if your business is growing or not. If you're just basing it based on, dollars, then you really not be giving yourself the true picture of what your business is doing.
But protecting those margins is still a good idea. You really don't want to fool yourself on that, right?
Of course. Yeah, of course. I'm not saying not to raise your prices or to do whatever you can to protect your margins, for sure. But just be aware that a lot of people judge their growth based on their revenues. And if it's revenue dollars, it just might be inflated because of inflation.
All right, moving on. You also wrote recently that Google is offering a powerful CRM function, and
Yeah.
bizarrely enough, it's offering it for free.
Well, Google does a lot for free.
That's true, but this
I have
seems
such mixed feelings about Google, don't you, Lauren? I mean, like, they are very awesome in a lot of ways, and they are very monopolistic in a lot of ways.
that's all true, and they've also evolved in a lot of ways. They're not the same company they were 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Definitely not. And I hate them when I try to advertise with them because I feel like I'm being screwed left and right, and the big guys are getting the keywords and not me. But I love them when they offer free tools. And this is one of them. I mean, it's a CRM tool that they're offering. And what I mean by that, it's what it is this. If you set up your business profile on Google, and I wrote about this in Forbes this week, so you can Google that and see the article because I've got a few links to how to do that. But if you set up your business profile, right, Lauren, so you search for...
That's free too, right? And there's kind of no reason not to do that.
Yeah, everybody should have a business profile on Google. You search for the Marks Group, in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania, and you'll see on the right-hand side, the profile shows up. And, there's a description. You can see all the great reviews I'm getting, except for some one jerk who left a really bad review. And then you can also see, I can post stuff there. It gives our hours of opening and our health and safety, what we're doing to make sure our customers are safe and healthy. Our address is a P.O. box. So, we clean it out every day. It's completely sterilized and safe. So you're fine if you're ever going to visit us. But now what they're allowing you to do is, you can set up automatic replies to questions so people can ask questions on Google on your business profile, and you can set up automatic replies, which is like a CRM kind of thing. A lot of us have these chat functions on our websites where people can chat, and my smarter clients have been using us to set up automation. So, people ask standard questions. I'm looking, what's the price of this, or how do I get this, or does this do that? You can set up, I think, like 10 of these. You're limited to a number of, the question can be up to like 200 and something words, and the answer can be like 500 words. And you can also include links to drive people to your website. So, people are visiting your profile and they see they can just ask a question. They ask the question, they get an automatic answer. So you don't have to spend any money or time or whatever doing it. And they not only get their answer, but they could, theoretically be then just driven right to a specific page on your site. That's a CRM thing, man. And that's great because then you're driving traffic to your website where you can hopefully grab contact information from that visitor and maybe nurture them into an actual sale. And Google is providing that tool completely for free. So I strongly recommend you check it out.
If you have a functioning CRM, is this still useful?
It is. So if you have a functioning CRM, like a good mainstream CRM, you can set all this stuff up there. But then, you have to like pay somebody like me more exorbitant hourly fees to do it. And, some people, it's harder than others. The Google process is a lot easier. What you want to make sure of, though, is that if you're going to drive somebody to your website, there's a call to action on your website. You know what I mean? So, if they have a question, it goes to a page on your website that they can click on, and then they can request, a white paper or instructions or something to download, and then that data then goes into your CRM. That's what you want to get set up. But you can grab them on the Google search right there without having to drive them to your website first. And that's a really big deal.
But not a substitute for having a CRM if you
No,
don't
not
have
at
one.
all. No, not at all. Not at all. It's just that, a good customer relationship management application has got a lot of ways to grab data to bring into its database so that you can then nurture that data and turn that into sales. Well, Google is now providing one of these ways to get that data into your CRM system. And that's, that's something you should be looking into.
Got it. Now, you also recently wrote, I believe for the Philadelphia Inquirer, about whether Philadelphia is a good place to start a business or not. And having lived in Philadelphia myself, I know that this topic has been debated for many years, and Philadelphia gets a lot of grief on this. Where did you come down?
Well, for starters, actually, the headline that our editors assigned to us, and I love my editors, it's a little misleading, okay? It really wasn't an article about whether Philly is a good place to start up a business. I mean, you can go to a lot of different sites from U.S. News and World Report to
There are a lot of lists.
NerdWallet. Yeah, they do a lot of best cities for startups. Philly is never listed very high in any of those lists, rightfully so, because Philly has a lot of red tape to start up a business, and it is I don't want to say it's a business unfriendly government, because everybody in the government will say that they love and support small businesses, but it's still higher taxes and regulations. So the article which I wrote in the Philly Inquirer, though, does apply. It's specific for Philly, but if you're listening to this conversation, it really does apply to any big city in the country. Every city has got its anomalies for starting up a business. So if you're going to start up a business in LA or San Diego or Chicago or Omaha or Little Rock, I can guarantee you that there are going to be similar hoops you're going to have to go through that you go through in Philly. And in Philly, you've got to consider permits, you've got to consider licensing, you've got to consider zoning. And there are applications and forms that you've got to fill out for that. In Philly, you've got to get a Philadelphia tax ID, because there's taxes that you pay: sales tax, soda tax, income tax, gross receipts tax as well. So you got to get that all set up, and in addition, Philly does have some programs to help small businesses. They have like reimbursement programs if you put in security cameras, and boy, do we need those, as well as other things. So, you need to know all of that if you're going to start up a business. So my advice to you, if you are starting up a business in any city, not necessarily Philadelphia, is you got to visit your city's website. That's number one, because you got to find out what the rules are. And number two is I do recommend getting help. And I spoke to a few people that work at nonprofits in Philly that help, entrepreneurs start up businesses. And those people, they know.
What kind of help are you talking about? Just dealing with the bureaucracy?
Yes. So okay, I'm starting up a food truck. I'm starting up a restaurant. I'm a plumber. Opening up a manufacturing facility. What permit do I need? What zoning permission do I have to get? What is my, what tax forms do I have to be filing every year? You can go to the city's website, but it's not like it's really clear. You know what I mean? It's confusing. So, but if you reach out to a nonprofit that deals with startups, that's what they do, and they can guide you that way. And I'm telling you, there are these in Philly, there's like small business development centers. There's the Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation. There's, there's a few others I mentioned in my article. You can find those same nonprofits in any city. I strongly recommend that you work with them, because they will make the process a lot easier.
Is there a place you can go that basically has this all in one template where you can just basically fill out, one form? No. Of course not.
Of course not.
I'm sure there are places that do that. Do you know of any?
Well, if you go to the nonprofits, and again, if you're starting up a business in Chicago and you're like nonprofit, startups, you know what I mean? In Chicago, you'll find organizations that you go to their place, give them your information, and they will fill out the forms and get you set up. And I'm telling you, it's not easy, regardless of what city that you're in. So that's sort of like the one-stop shop that you want to go to.
That makes sense. So did you form an opinion as to whether Philadelphia is better or worse than other places?
It's a tough call, Loren. I mean, I love Philly, you know that. But it is, when I compare it to some other cities that, have low taxes and less regulations and don't require tradesmen to, get permits and pay fees and fines, and are less unionized than Philadelphia, and have a more pro-business approach. I mean, there are a lot of other cities that are, that I think are more amenable to starting up a business than Philadelphia. Having said that, though, if your customers are there, if that's where your market is, and more importantly, if you've got talent there. I mean, Philly does have a really good university system with Penn and Drexel and Temple and Haverford and Swarthmore and, any number of colleges locally. If you're looking for certain talent, it's certainly a great place, to get that talent. But is it the best place in the country? Probably not.
The thing people tend to focus on, especially in those lists, of course, is taxes. Is Philadelphia particularly?
It is. I mean, there's still a wage tax, which is close to 5%.
Yeah, people don't understand what that is in a lot of places. This is a tax that is assessed based on your payroll, and it's regardless of whether you make any money or not, right? You just pay a percentage.
No. Hold on. There's a business receipts tax, which is based on your revenue. There's a net profits tax, which is based on your profits. So they get you either way. That's the business. If you're an employee, you have to pay a wage tax. It's like 4-point-something%, close to 5%, just if you work in Philly. So,
but that hurts businesses because it makes it harder for them to attract talent.
Exactly. So that is, a real, the taxes themselves are really tough. And then there are other things like, Mayor Kenny, our esteemed mayor, who, by the way, doesn't want to be mayor, he said publicly, he had a big soda tax on grocery stores and restaurants was implemented. So they have to pay an extra tax whenever they sell soda, which is going towards, pre-kindergarten care and all that kind of stuff. But it's just extra money you've got to pay out, which hurts your business, regulatory stuff that you got to file. So it is. So
if you're starting a soda business, maybe not in Philadelphia,
or a grocery. But it's funny because you have the tax you pay in Philly, then you got the sales tax, and then you've also got your state tax. Pennsylvania has like a 2% state tax as well, and then of course there's federal taxes. So they really do add up.
All right. I haven't checked in with you about this recently, Gene. We have been talking about the state small business credit initiative, the $10 billion that allegedly will be flowing towards small businesses on a state-by-state basis. Have you seen any indication that the money is actually flowing?
You are very dubious about this, aren't you?
I keep hearing from frustrated business owners, and that's why I feel compelled to ask. And,
yes.
Obviously it's tricky because it's state by state. It would be much easier if it were just, go to the SBA and get your answer.
You're 100% right. It is tricky because it's state by state. And I have no updates for you on this other than the money is trickling out. But what I would like you to do is let's talk. Come back to me on a monthly basis, not a weekly basis.
I don't think I asked you last week, but you might be right.
I think we did.
Okay.
We might have talked about it.
I could be wrong.
Whatever. But I got no new updates for you now. But I am going to be checking on it and seeing how the money is flowing out. I did this big piece for the Inquirer and the Guardian about this, and I do intend to revisit it in the late fall.
Well, the thing is, when we first heard about this, the economy was going full steam, and there wasn't a sense that there was a desperate need. But each week, as we head into the pre-recession, as you put it, it becomes more intriguing that there might be money out there for businesses.
It does. I'm still waiting to see, Loren, an actual recession going on. I mean, I know that GDP is down. I get that. I know that, a lot of my clients aren't necessarily going gangbusters right now. But I don't see anybody going out of business. I don't see anybody defaulting on their loans. I still see my clients that are still looking for people to hire. They're all kind of concerned. I mean, about the next 6 to 9 months.
Because we keep telling them to be concerned.
Yeah, we keep telling them to be concerned, but I'm not quite sure their order books are telling them that. You know what I mean? And so there's this narrative
every
of a
week
recession.
there seems to be more red flags. There's cause for concern, but you're right. I mean, I don't think there's been a recession like this where people are still desperate to hire, and I talk to owners who are still desperate to hire.
Yeah, and there were less unemployment claims filed this week than last week. That's not supposed to happen in a recession. There's supposed to be more unemployment claims filed. You know what I mean? So we still have a tight labor market out there. So it's just, inflation is the big challenge right now. And even that, I've been looking at those numbers and I'm seeing that start to plateau. So it's going to be a slow year. There's no doubt about it. But, I think this is not 2008. That's for sure.
Gene, I have managed to forget to bring along my list of all the places you write for. I usually thank you at this point and tell everybody what you do. Could you do that this week?
What I'll just do is say, if you want to see all the places that I write and all the different places that I appear and whatever, just go to my Medium account.
Your 2 podcasts as well?
Yeah, I do a podcast with Paychecks. I do one with The Hartford, and my Medium account is Gene Marks at genemarks.medium.com. And then whenever I write something, and I do write in a bunch of different places every week, I also repost it on Medium. So you can get it all there at genemarks.medium.com.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Anything we should be watching for from you this week?
I'm working on a piece about Wawa, Loren. Wawa.
Half the country has no idea what you're talking about.
I know. What the hell is Wawa? I'm going to explain what Wawa is. You'll read the piece. Hopefully it'll be out this week or next. We'll talk about it. But I have such great things to say about Wawa. I had to share them. So that's coming up.
Wawa is a chain of convenience stores. We should just let people know.
900, by the way.
Wow. I'll look forward to that. Gene, thank you as always. Have a great week.
Thank you, Loren. See you next week.